Greetings and welcome back to Room 303 and our Talks with Walt, as we are calling our readings through the deathbed edition of Walt Whitman's Leaves of Grass. We turn now to a little poem called The Runner, poem number 17 of the 29 of By the Roadside. This is in some ways one of the most modern of all of the poems in Leaves of Grass. It has been anthologized and athletes love it. Many of my students have reported that this is one of the poems that they actually enjoy reading because they can relate to it, because they themselves are athletes and they love to run. Now, the assumptions are that you've been following our stuff at learnstrong.net, down that left-hand side, Talks with Walt. Everything from the inscriptions up through and including an introductory set of comments for By the Roadside, and then we just finished with A Child's Amaze. Our background information from Norton's will tell us that this poem first appeared in Leaves of Grass in 1867. It was ungrouped in all editions until it was included in the present group in 1881. Now, do you guys remember this one from in the inscriptions from Poets to Come? I love this set of lines. Poets to come, orators, singers, musicians to come. Not today is to justify me and answer what I am for, but you, and now listen, a new brood, native, athletic, continental, greater than before known. Arouse, for you must justify me. Now, I want to concentrate on that word athletic. Now, track and field athletics in the U.S. date from, according to most researchers, around 1860. So Whitman is way ahead of his time in celebrating somebody who would actually just go out and run for no reason other than to enjoy running. Before 1860, nobody was really thinking about this in terms of competition in America. Obviously, in England we had some examples of it, but not in America. The Intercollegiate Association of Amateur Athletics of America was first actually founded, and their first collegiate race would happen in 1873. So we're really brand new to the whole idea of somebody going out and running for no reason other than health, maybe, and the like. And the New Health Movement, of which the temperance movement was a part of that Whitman had a part of, obviously spoke about the importance of exercise. But I think that what's going on with Whitman here is two things simultaneously. I think he's going to emphasize the athleticism of this individual running. And by extension, this is a symbol for Whitman, obviously, of American democracy, as athletic as we just heard in Poets to Come. Let's just enjoy the poem now. Remember, we said great poets are going to show, not tell. Watch this. On a flat road runs the well-trained runner. He is lean and sinewy with muscular legs. He is thinly clothed. He leans forward as he runs with lightly closed fists and arms partially raised. Now notice, this is a poem where he doesn't tell us anything. He shows us simply someone out running. Now, of course, today we read this and we're just like, well, yeah, every third person you pass as you drive to school is out there doing some kind of morning run, and so it's not an unusual thing to see. But in Whitman's day, it was quite unusual to just see somebody out there. Now notice, we'll begin on the flat road. In other words, it's almost like he's outside the city as he's taking his run. The next thing I want to point out is this notion of the well-trained runner. In other words, for Whitman, he wants to point out, and this will be one of the messages, that all different types of art need to be respected, including, of course, the physical arts. Namely, here will be running. He will celebrate musicians who are well trained. Here it's going to be an athlete that's well trained, and of course, this takes us back to Song of Myself, passage 46, and the importance of the teacher. For Whitman to see someone doing something really good athletically, it can only happen because somebody has trained them. In other words, we don't just have somebody out there running. We have somebody who has been trained to run. And then notice, we're going to learn a little bit more about what he looks like. Lean, that is to say, he's going to be in shape. Sinewy, which takes us back to Pioneers, oh Pioneers, we, the youthful, sinewy races. And so it's clear that in Whitman's mind, a man who, in his youth, as we can tell by images and the like, was himself sinewy, right? Later, of course, he grew corpulent, especially because of health issues. Sinewy, and then he emphasizes the muscular legs. Now, there's no question, and many have pointed out, This is Whitman's celebration of that Greek ethic of the runner. Of course, the story of Marathon comes to mind. And the idea of all of those statues that will demonstrate the strong legs, the muscular legs, and all of that. And then again, thinly clothed is probably one of the more intriguing two words in this poem, and even in Leaves of Grass. In other words, when this person goes out, this young man goes out to run, he's not wearing much. And this is, of course, going to be against the clothing taboos of the day. And then what an eye that he has for those of us who enjoy running. He leans forward as he runs. Of course, symbolically, this idea of leaning forward can easily be read. In other words, if you see this runner as a symbol of American democracy, the idea that he's leaning into it, leaning forward, is a term, I said, this is one of the more modern, amazingly modern poems, a term that we today obviously use all the time, to lean into, to lean forward, and the like, with lightly closed fists, which is an amazing bit of eye. And of course, for those of us who have trained at all as runners, we know the importance of that, to be relaxed, right? And arms partially raised. The eye that he will have here is quite remarkable. And of course, finally, at 2A, this is suggesting, obviously, that sport is a form of art and needs to be respected as such. At 2B, I love the word choice here and the adjectives like sinuate. I like the idea that great poems often will simply show us something, and great poems often will hang on just a single word or an image, and I find that powerful as well. As we said about these poems, these brief poems now in By the Roadside, it's like snapshots, it's like photographic snapshots. Now, I'm going to take you to 3A, to a place that will maybe shock some of you, but again, we define learning as the ability to connect new information to old information in meaningful ways. And I'd like you to go back, because I think it's possible that in Whitman's mind he made this connection. It wouldn't have shocked me, because he loved his Homer. I'd like for you to go back and take a look at Iliad 23. You'll remember that we have this very interesting interlude. We've given full lectures on every book of Iliad at learnstrong.net, but go back and look at my lecture on Iliad 23 and be reminded of what's going on there. Patroclus has to have a proper burial, and of course we're going to do that little mini Olympics, and you're going to have that whole thing with Achilles kind of setting it up, and then we've even got that whole thing about, is it okay to cheat if it's if it's one of those things for for family honor and the like. But go back and pay attention to the way in which Homer himself is going to emphasize the athleticism of that event, and I think Whitman's playing that game. Finally, at 3B, for you, what do you find is the sport that, or the activity that is the most compelling and artistic as you are watching it? We often think of the Olympics and of course the joy of different Olympic kinds of games, and obviously the gymnastics and the ice skating and some of that kind of thing. But to just watch someone run and to just see it as a beautiful work of art, I think this is one of those little poems that I love in Leaves of Grass. It's quite a little treasure for us, right? The next time you see someone running, maybe you'll think of this poem. Thank you.